Hey everyone, this is a little video overview of the answers for the week 2 unit assessment. A couple things. My neighbor's trimming some trees, so if it's a little loud, I'm sorry about that. Hope the mic isn't picking up too much of that. Second of all, I don't want you to overreact to the first unit assessment because grades tend to go up after the first time. You're new to the class, you're new to the material, frankly, you're new to me. And so once you take one or two of these, you get a better sense of what I'm looking for. And from other classes, the grades tend to go up pretty significantly for some students after the first one or two of these unit assessments. So if you're looking at your grade and it doesn't seem to be what you were hoping for, it's just the beginning of the semester. We've barely gone through, I think, 2% of your overall grade at this point. So it might not look fantastic right now, but there's going to be lots of other opportunities for points coming. And hopefully this review of the answers will help you prepare for the next ones. Okay, so let's take a look. These are not in any particular order because they're all shuffled, but I'll go over them. What crucial element did Denham's political system lack that kept it from being a genuine democracy? Representation. I talked about this. Lockridge talked about this in the book also. I didn't talk about separation of powers. I didn't talk about a court system to review laws. Voting, they did vote, and we talked about their voting. So the correct answer for this one is D, representation. Which idea do we not associate with Puritan religious beliefs? The importance of good works to get into heaven. That is the incorrect answer. Remember, the Puritans believed in predestination. God selected you to go to heaven or hell before you were born. So therefore, none of your works in this world will have any effect on your final destination. So that's the one that's wrong. The importance of the Bible and understanding God's will. Yes, that was important to the Puritans. Predestination, yes, we talked about that. Man's evil nature, yes, we talked about that. All right. The covenant of the town of Denham called for all of the following except all people living in the town to be a member of the church. Remember, we said, and Lockridge told you about this, not everybody in the town was a member of the church. You had to pass a test to become, you had to be scrutinized to become a member of the church. Everybody had to attend church, but not everybody was a member. In the beginning, that percentage was 80% were members of the church, and then those numbers declined. So that was not correct. The original idea behind the Massachusetts Bay Company was as a commercial venture for Puritan merchants. I talked about that. I told you all about that. Venture to discover new territory in England. Now, they weren't looking for new territory. They had an idea of where they were going. Military campaign to prevent French expansion in North America. No, that wasn't the responsibility of the Puritans. None of the above. No, there's a correct answer, so it can't be none of the above. Here's a true-false one. The Puritans did not believe in the idea of conversion because God predestined humans for birth. I specifically told you that they did believe in conversion, but it was a conversion that came through God at some point in your life. It was a predetermined conversion. In fact, I talked about the stages of conversion. You went through 5 different stages that we went through. So we talked about that. So that answer is false. Members of the Board of Selectmen were, these were your options. Male, yeah, they tended to be male. Wealthy, yes, we said they tended to be wealthy. Usually members of the church, yes, they usually were members of the church. So it's D, all of the above. All of those were characteristics that we associated with members of the select board. Excuse me. It was Martin Luther's original idea to break away from the Catholic Church. True or false? False. specifically told you it was not his intention to break away from the Catholic Church. It was his idea to reform the Catholic Church. It was only after the Catholic Church excommunicated Luther, kicked him out, that he and his followers broke away from the Catholic Church. So that was not his original idea. That is false. Oligarchy is a form of government characterized by a system where a small number of people control the government. That was all about our discussion. I talk about that. Lockridge talks about it. The same people tended to run Denham through the select board year after year after year. Once you were elected to the select board, you tended to get reelected again and again. All right, so that is the correct answer. The original source of political authority in Denham was the town meeting. I talked about that in lecture. Lockridge writes about that in your book. Not the town minister. We talked about they had separation of church and state in the sense of the minister could not be involved in the running of the town. The board of the select men, no. I told you about, Lockridge told you about it. It was the town meeting that created the select board, and that at any time that the town meeting wanted to abolish the select board, they could. None of the above. No, there's a correct answer, so it can't be none of the above. Because they were persecuted for their religious beliefs in England, the Puritans of Massachusetts believed in religious freedom. I specifically told you, no, they did not. They wanted to practice their religion freely, but they did not come for the general principle of religious freedom. If you were going to live in Denham, you could only be a Puritan. If you were not a Puritan, you could not live in the community. Those were the first two clauses in the covenant. So I specifically told you they did not believe in religious freedom. The town meeting was more powerful than the board of select men. True or false? True. The town meeting created the board of select men and had the power to abolish the board of select men. So that question is true. Denham was not a theocracy because religious leadership and political leadership were kept separate. That's what I told you in lecture. That's what Lockridge told you in the book. Religious leadership and political leadership were the same. No, that is the definition of theocracy. This is asking why it was not. Only Christians were allowed to live in Denham. That's true, but that doesn't have anything to do with the question being asked. None of the above. That's not correct, because there is a correct answer. I've got to go back this preview and this one. Which was not a power of the Board of Select Men. The correct answer is select the town minister. The government of the town, the political dimension of the town, had nothing to do with the church in terms of creating a town minister. Again, those things were kept separate in the town. The minister was selected by the members of the church, and the select board had nothing to do with it. Determining guilt and innocence of people charged in crime. No, that was a power of the select board. Investigate rumors of disorderly conduct. Yes, I told you that was part of their power. Determine land distribution. Yes, I told you about them. Lockridge told you all about those things. I told you about them, not the town minister. Only visible saints were allowed to attend church. That is false. We specifically told you everybody was required to attend church, whether you were a member or you were not a member. Everybody had to go to church. Members just had special rights and responsibilities in relationship to the church. They could get communion, they had to pay for the minister, but everybody had to attend church. Which was not a question the Puritans of Denham asked themselves before creating their church. Could women be members of the church? That was not a question that they asked. Women were members of the church. I specifically told you, Lockridge told you, that one of the interesting things about church membership selection was a relative even number of men and women selected to be members of the church initially. That one of the reasons people didn't complain about church membership was it seemed fair, and it specifically told you, Lockridge told you, that men and women were equal in terms of, roughly equal in terms of church membership. Who could be a member of the church? No, they did ask themselves about that. Could they start a church? They asked that. Can't be none of the above because there is a correct answer. And I think this is the last one. What crucial element did Denham's political system lack that kept it from being a genuine democracy? Oh, I'm sorry. That's the first one I did. I did go through all of those. Just for the record, it's representation. All right, everybody. Those were the correct answers. I hope that's helpful. Again, try not to freak out and get too down on yourself for the first unit assessment. You've been through it now. You have a better sense of what I'm asking and what I'm looking for. And remember, you can always come into office hours. Office hours have been lightly attended so far. There are times I have office hours where nobody comes to visit with me. So if you didn't do great, come talk to me. Maybe we could talk about how you're studying and what you're focusing on and what you need to work on in the future. So come visit me. I'm a nice guy. I'll try to help you out. All right? Okay, everybody. See you next time.